This podcast is brought to you by all of our sexy anime addicts out there. If you want to support the podcast, it's aapodcast.com/join or Patreon. Hey, on our Hobby Addicts today, we just talked about Shangri-La. We talked about Stellar Blade's demo and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So if you want to hear that and so much more, you can get our Hobby Addicts, our hentai episodes, and our after parties by supporting the podcast over at aapodcast.com/join or Patreon. And now, time to start the show.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Welcome into the podcast, episode 722 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. And I'm back, captaining the ship. Boop, boop. Let's go. Taking the tugboat down the river with my first mate, Mason. How you doing, Mason?
Aye, Captain. Yeah, I would say a tugboat is probably the most accurate description of this podcast in aquatic
That's right.
maneuvering form.
You guys do all the work, and I sit in the hold and stow away and just ride along. It's fine.
Just pull what is it, a lever? Is it a wire? How do they get the
I'm just going to say it's a wire, just like on a truck, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That
Anyway,
feels right.
We are here to make your anime addiction worse today, so thank you for listening wherever you are in the world. We appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in. Tell a friend, that's the mission today. Everybody, I understand not everybody can support the podcast. Times are tough. I just went to the grocery store. Orange juice is $11 a gallon. I was like, holy shit. But hey, if you can't support the podcast, you could always tell a friend. That helps out as well, so spread the word. If you want to follow us, you can watch us live on twitch.tv at Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so come check us out. We're both looking very handsome today for people that are both 50% sick, so we're trying our best. Mason especially, I'm kind of old at this point, so...
Yeah, I'm struggling. I've got so many fluids just going into my face hole right now that I apologize if I sound
fluids.
Extra gross.
I have a very delicious Ultra Strawberry Dreams monster because it's the only monster that is colored with vegetable juice. Better for you. So just keep that in mind. It's so delicious. You can also follow us on Twitter, TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're pretty much everywhere you want to follow us. Chitin keeps the memes a-flowing over on those platforms, so check us out. We're also on Discord, AAADiscord.com. AAADiscord.com. Again, while supplies last, AAADiscord.com. And if you, I'm going to talk about my Japan trip real briefly here in a minute. And hey, if you go on the Discord and DM me, I will send you my meticulously crafted itinerary with close to 60 items on it that I could probably sell, but I will give it to you for free because I love you and you're very beautiful.
Does it include where to find restrooms to take those fat dunks?
It includes the cost of train tickets, the cost of the event, the address, the transit times. It's got it all, baby. It's got it all.
Okay.
Oh my God! Speaking of having it all, this episode. What are we doing today? Well, we are going to be talking about the 2024 spring season of anime. We're going to be going through our picks and seeing how bad Mitsugi's picks are. I have clips from Pancake, who's also sick, who mocking me in a very sick voice this morning. So she has no respect for me at all as far as anime picks. So it is what it is. Hey, and we're gonna do a review of Shangri-La Frontier, the big dumb fun that it is. Little SLF, which I saw in Japan several times on billboards. So it is, it does exist. But first, I thought I would give you guys a little bit of a teaser from my Japan trip. I think Pancake and I are planning to record maybe a 90-minute episode where we just go through the itinerary and talk about our trip, one event at a time. But this is a podcast, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of a teaser. So I'm going to talk about a few things that we did on this trip, maybe just like 2 items, and I hope you'll enjoy. Starting with the Totoro Forest. Just getting some ambiance here for you.
Oh, it's like I'm there. It's like I'm there with you guys.
So the Totoro Forest is west of Tokyo in a town called Tokorozawa. And it's a very nice town. It has a baseball stadium, but it feels like it only has about 50,000 people in it, so I'm surprised it has a stadium. And you have to walk maybe 20 minutes from the train station to get to the Totoro Forest. Very easy to find. And I was just reminded by how pleasant Japanese communities are, like their neighborhoods. Very quiet. The houses, they have community gardens in between their houses, like big ones. Enough land for you to grow a pretty solid amount of food. And they just split the land, and they, live in quiet harmony out there in Tokorozawa. And then if you just walk a little further past the road, past the overly polite people working on the telephone poles, past the old man on the bicycle, and up the hill, you'll find a sign written in Japanese that says Totoro Forest number 1. And on your right, an old man will come up to you and he'll tell you that the Totoro Forest is over there. And you'll thank him, and he'll continue walking. It's very pleasant. And not a single soul to be seen at the Totoro Forest, which is an extreme dichotomy to Japan as a whole during this trip, because it was more crowded than I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've spent quite a number of different periods of time in Japan. But a little serene getaway in the outskirts of Tokyo. I picked up one tissue that was on the ground, following up in Miyazaki's footsteps of cleaning up the Totoro Forest, as he does. And it's a very small forest. It only takes about 10 minutes to walk it. But it is very beautiful, and it was a very crisp day. I do have some photos that I can post somewhere, I'm sure. A little bit of bamboo here and there, lots of signs telling you about the insects and stuff that live there. Not a single, other than the tissue, piece of trash. And at the end of the trail, a very modest Shinto temple where an old man was doing calisthenics. And Pancake finds that she identifies with Shinto quite a lot. It's very much about nature and being in harmony with your surroundings. We went up to the temple and tossed our 100 yen in, and I noted that the old man had left a Kirin beer can for the Shinto gods, which was an unopened can. And then we walked back the same way we came, and it was very, very nice getaway from the big city life, I would say. And if anybody goes to Japan, you can get from Tokyo Station all the way to the Totoro Forest's first step in about an hour. So it really is something that I encourage you to do. It was truly a little bit inspiring to walk in Miyazaki's footsteps and be in the same place that inspired him so much. So very much encourage you to do that. And we also hit the Ghibli Park, which had an entry time of 1 p.m. and is not so close to Tokyo, for it is in Nagoya. And it is a quite long trek from Tokyo, several train rides. And as I'm panicking in Shinagawa Station in Tokyo, trying to figure out how to activate these JR rail passes, which have changed quite a lot since I had one 6 years ago, we had close to 4.5 hours to get to the Ghibli Park from Shinagawa Station, and we arrived 4 minutes before the entry time. That's how close we cut
Nice.
it. And if you're late, you don't get to go in. They're very strict about it. It was very, very hair-raising. Ghibli Park, very cool. I would say it's not that much better than the Ghibli Museum, which is odd. It's a lot of the same thing. They have a movie theater in there that resembles the one in the Ghibli Museum, which I also went to. So I got to see 2 Ghibli shorts this trip.
Which 2?
I saw the one of the sumo wrestling mice.
Okay.
Which is super cute and just awesome. and the one with the witch that chases the egg around.
Yeah. I think that's the one we saw when we went to Japan on the podcast trip. Was
Man,
Tamago.
this monster hits the spot.
I have a question about that monster.
Yeah.
Sorry, tangent. You said that was the only monster that was colored using vegetable oil?
Vegetable juice, beet juice.
Vegetable juice. Mm-hmm. Who sees the color of a monster? Do you ever pour your monster out in a can and then drink it from the can, or like a glass so that you can see it?
That's a good point. It's stupid that drinks are colored because you don't really see them when you drink them.
Exactly. Like I guess some drinks you pour out to be classy, like, alcoholic drinks usually don't drink straight from the can. But monster, who's pouring that out?
I'll do it on video for you. Oh, you can't really see. Well,
That's a little tinge of pink.
The color's too mild, but I have been known to pour my monster over ice because I'm weird. So,
I would guess the percentage of people who drink their monsters in a glass over ice is less than 5%.
Some of us are connoisseurs.
But anyway, that's fair. Pinky out.
I think that the Sumo Wrestling Mice and the Witch movie could both be made into full-length films. I really think, especially the one with the mice, is just unbelievably creative and is probably my favorite Ghibli short right now that I've seen, and I've seen maybe 4 or 5 of them at this point, and it absolutely could be expanded into a movie. I really think that Miyazaki was really, really pumping with like diesel fuel in his brain when he designed that movie and came up with it, because it is just extremely imaginative and represents everything I love about Studio Ghibli. So I'm not going to go into detail about it, but some highlights from the park. I saw the Academy Award, and it's in person for The Boy and the Heron. It's not especially protected. You could pretty much just go in there and take it. There's like one little cloth rope stopping you. Although I think they would be on your ass pretty fast if you tried. But they'd be very polite about it. There's a lot of sort of like exhibits set up for you to take photos. Like you can get up on the rock and catch Sheeta from Castle in the Sky. You can lift the head up from Princess Mononoke like they do at the end of the movie and take a photo. So they've got all that stuff set up. And they had It's still under, not construction, but there's still more things coming to it, right? Yeah, so off in the distance, you can see Howl's Castle.
Gotcha.
But it's not open yet. It's not open. They had an unbelievable exhibit that was so foresightful about the food of Studio Ghibli. So there's all these memes and stuff you see online about how amazing Ghibli's food is and all this. And so they had a literal, extremely long exhibit about the food of Studio Ghibli, which included multiple recreated kitchens from the movies that you can go inside. So you can go inside the literal house's kitchen from My Neighbor Totoro and be in the kitchen where they are. They've recreated all of it. They also recreated the bath area, which is pretty cool. They recreated the kitchen from Castle in the Sky, where all the guys come in and they help her clean the kitchen up. Probably my favorite place in the whole exhibit was inside of the kitchen from My Neighbor Totoro. It's they even have the little, like, if you've seen the movie 16, I don't know, even 16's not enough, 25, 30 times like I have because I'm insane and grew up on the movie. There's that scene where like Satsuki's tapping the like pickled stuff under the rice inside of the little bentos. They literally had the bentos sitting there with the stuff on it. I mean, they nailed it 100%. So it was really cool. The cafe was good, much better than the one at the Ghibli Museum. All in all, I'd say at this point, it's like an expanded Ghibli Museum with very lengthy, impressive exhibits and some interesting like places for you to take photos. But it's probably not worth going to Nagoya just for that.
That's what I was about to ask. Is it worth the 2-hour train ride there and 2 hours back if you're not already in the area?
It's not. What you can do is do what I did, which is stop there on your way to Osaka.
Exactly, because it's about halfway between the two cities.
Yeah, basically. So you can just, because the bullet train will stop in Nagoya, and then you can literally just get off, do your thing for like 3 or 4 hours, and then come back. They had a very impressive gift shop that was very reasonably priced. I bought a few things. I bought a little model of Porco Rosso's plain that looks damn good, and it was only $10, which is extremely impressive. And that leads me into my final thing I'm going to talk about is just like the prices in Japan. It was extremely hard to come back to the States. I can't lie. Halfway towards the end of the trip, we had a sushi dinner in Tokyo that was unfucking believable. Pancake wanted to have sushi, and I tend to spoil her, so we got 2 giant sushi platters that were probably close to 20 pieces of sushi apiece, in order of fatty tuna sashimi, and in order of their fattiest tuna sushi roll. We also got 6 alcoholic beverages between us. I got 3 orders of hot sake, and Pancake got 3 plum wines, and the bill was $50. It's like, this would have been $180 in the United States. It wasn't even low quality sushi. And I had an unbelievable experience with the sake that I want to talk about. So then I'll move on because I'm dragging this down the road like really far. I'm just excited.
No, it's fine. I love hearing the passion.
So I ordered this sake, right? And this is old Japanese guy. And you know, in Japan, you know, they're like, hi, 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 hi. You know, they say hi a lot. Well, this guy, he's straight up going, hi. He's like 85. You know, he's walking around. He's just giving you the most cheerful service. Probably my favorite person I encountered on the whole trip. I order this sake. He comes out with this massive bottle. I mean, it's like holding a fucking parking cone big. And I'm like, bro, I was like, I can't drink all that. I didn't know if he was gonna give me the bottle or if he was gonna pour out of the bottle. But you know, we figured out that he was just gonna pour out of the bottle. So what he does is, you know, they have this glass. It's like a shot glass, and it's like 2 shot glasses high. And then they stick it inside of a wooden box. And some people listening are like, oh, of course. But listen, last time, all my life being in Japan, I never drank alcohol because I just didn't drink alcohol until I was like 30. Now I drink alcohol. And so I'm like experiencing sake and all this. They put the giant glass into the box, and he pours it for you until the glass overflows and starts filling the box. And I'm like, this is interesting. So I Google it, and I'm like, why do they pour it into the glass until it overflows into the box? And Google says, well, they do it to show that you're getting good service and value for what you pay for. And I'm like, that is such an interesting and like amazing thing to be given such great service for sake that costs $4 an order. And so you drink it out of the glass, and then when your glass is empty, you drink it right out of the wooden box. And I ordered 3 orders because it was just, I find that I like sake. And I asked the guy to recommend the one that he liked, so he made a recommendation, and he was very very tickled that we did that. And it was just a great experience, and I really encourage people that go to Japan. The exchange rate is even better than it was when I went. It's now like 152. I mean, it's just insane. You won't believe how cheap shit is in Japan. You can eat lunch for $4 and you're like, this is so much food, I need to share it with someone else. And really take the time to like go have a nice dinner and interact with the waiter a little bit, you know, because the service in Japan is very good, and they expect to they really like when you try, and I would say. But yes, Pancake and I kind of stumbled half drunkenly to some metal game arcades and played the Dragon Quest metal game for 5 hours, maybe, or maybe not. But we're going to release a longer episode here. That was actually longer than I intended it to be, but yeah, so it was a good trip, but now Pancake is sick because it rained almost the whole trip. So, oh my God, Mason, do you have any questions or anything?
No, I'm looking forward to hearing the full episode because it'll be fun to hear your perspective as someone who has lived there and been there and resided within Japan for so long, and because this was her first trip.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be fun hearing your dichotomy between, oh, I've gone to this arcade 20 times and this time it was different, and she's coming in with that fresh perspective, and I think it'll be good banter. So I'm actually looking forward to hearing this episode.
All right, well, with that, let's get to the big news.
It's time for big news of the week.
Well, I didn't see anything for Akira Toriyama in Japan at all, but apparently Peru loves Akira Toriyama because in Peru they have created a 360-foot long mural featuring 70 characters from the Dragon Ball universe including Gohan, Krillin, Android 18, Goku, Piccolo, Bulma, Arale, Frieza, and a ton of others, including a beautiful portrait of Akira Toriyama of himself with all of his characters, and had contributions from, oh my god, how many artists was it? 45.
45? Yeah.
45 artists plus the lead artist. Can you imagine how long that mural is? Oh my god. I mean, it's huge. I'm looking at it. It's like,
yeah, it's massive.
It's like 25 feet high and 360 feet long.
I'm half amazed
insane
how good it looks, and half amazed that they found a wall long enough to hold all of their ideas. So it's really good looking.
Yeah, it just goes to show like Dragon Ball is like a religion in like Latin America, which I think is so wild. Like they may love Dragon Ball more than anybody. I will say Dragon Ball is absolutely everywhere in Japan. It is so insane. It's just everywhere. Everywhere you look, boom, boom, boom. There it is, boom. Every single shop in Akiba, the Dragon Ball everywhere. I think Dragon Ball Super is pretty popular. But yeah, not really a lot to say about this, other than the fact that I'm very touched that people are like, celebrating his life in their own way. I hope they leave the mural up for a long time. I don't know if that's the kind of thing that gets taken down and replaced with something else, but it's hard to imagine that many people painting something that massive just to have it erased, in 6 months or something. Maybe it may be there for, until the end of time. Like, I really don't know, but it's pretty interesting. That's about it. Attempted to go. It's in Lima, Peru, capital city. I've never been to Peru, and if I go, I'm going there. I'm definitely going to see this mural because there aren't too many things. There aren't too many. Not too many times in life do that many people come together and come under a common cause to create something so magnificent. It's not fine art. It's not the fucking Sistine Chapel, but it is a lot of people holding hands and doing something, then celebrating something they all uniquely love together as a group. And so it's a very positive thing for humanity, I think, actually, which is nice to see. So, Mason, what you got?
Yeah, it was a pretty slow news week. The biggest news in my world, though, is the manga Land of the Lustrous will be ending in April. If you don't know, Hoseki no Kuni is one of my favorite series, both in manga and the anime adaptation, and it will be reaching its conclusion on the April 25th edition of the Afternoon Magazine's next issue. And this will result in a series that is 13 volumes long at 108 chapters, which is very interesting because a lot of people kind of predicted early on that it would end at around 108 because that's such a significant number in Buddhism with the different desires that mankind is held down by. So it's interesting that that is coming to fruition. And really, this is just my PSA to people to read it and experience it because I love it so much, and really just a manifestation of the desire for Studio Orange to give us 2 more seasons of the anime so we can get a full adaptation. So read Land of the Lustrous, people. It's really darn good, and I like it. And it's weird at the beginning, but trust me, it's a wild ride, and I'm excited to finally see it reach its conclusion. So that's all I got. It's a good series.
I'm trying to find these 108. Oh, here they are. Oh my god.
The 108 Desires or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, good lord. I mean, it starts off with just about every emotion you could have. Wow. I could never manage to not express any of these. Well,
you gotta work on it.
Yeah, I don't need. Yeah, I mean, you can find them. That's a lot of earthly desires. I was thinking like pizza, Monster
Sake
Energy.
that flows out of the cup into a box, into another box, that's what you should have done. Brought your own box,
multiple
and slip
boxes.
the sake box in there, and just look at the waiter like it's not full yet.
Keep pouring, baby. I tell you, I'm a little. It takes a lot of sake. I mean, for me, I don't know. Living at like altitude, but man, it does take about 12 ounces of sake for me to start feeling it pretty well. But it's a nice warm drink to have on a cold ass Japanese day.
Yeah, especially if you get hot sake. That'll do when it's raining outside. Ooh, that sounds nice.
It's so versatile. Hot, cold, box, no box, like whatever, blah blah blah. It's just it's kind of fun. All right. Oh my God.
Let's get to the big stuff. What the people came here for.
It's time for the spring 2024 anime selections. And I will say, on a season where we all pretty much thought this season kind of sucks, we all got most of our top picks. So it's interesting that we found so many different anime to choose in a season where ultimately we were all scratching our head about it.
Yeah, because they're all garbage. So you're like,
Oh, Pancake just comes through talking shit. Mason, do you want to get started?
The first show that I will be watching will be Train to the End of the World, Shumatsu Train Doko e Iku. And this is set in the not-so-ordinary countryside where strange occurrences are happening to the residents. And a young girl named Shizuru has a strong desire to see a lost friend again. So Shizuru and 3 other girls board this abandoned train and they set out to the outside world, where survival is not certain. This is done by Studio EMT Squared, and they have never put out something that I've enjoyed. Whether it be Love Tyrant or Beast Tamer, whether it be Kuma 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 Bear or Kumamiko, all misses. This studio is just not for me. But this is an original show, and actually most of my shows that I've picked this season are originals. This will be streaming on Crunchyroll. And this is directed by Tsutomu Mizushima, who did Shirobako, Girls in Panzer, Joshiraku. So if there's anyone who can pull a story together of these very overly moe girl archetypes within accurate mechanical train operation, it might just be this guy. I mainly just picked it because it has a chonky dog in the PV, just a really floofy, big, fat boy, and I'm excited for that. I'm kind of skeptical about this show, though. I'm expecting a lot of laid-back camp vibes, more than like the stark apocalypse of A Girl's Last Tour or the inner reflection of Akino's journey. But if this show can even reach the same ballpark as those others, I'll consider it a success. So, once again, that is Train to the End of the World, and it just has a neat title, and I'm curious to see where it goes. So that's my first pick.
Yeah, it does have sort of like, what is it, laid back camp or one of those types of vibes. It's like...
It's a group of girls going on an adventure, and I couldn't really get a sense of, is it a supernatural kind of thing? Is it a gritty, realistic thing where they're going to have to scavenge for food? I think it's going to be more relaxing than anything, but we'll see. We'll see.
It looks like they're sitting on the back of a school bus on this picture, which is a pretty weird thing considering it's about a train. Or maybe it's a train. I don't fucking know. But
it's a train. It's just a yellow train.
What I want to know is, are they going to have 551 Horai while they ride their train?
I'm guessing because it's kind of abandoned. No, but...
Oh.
It's kind of a shame. A 551 Horai is a staple of the train experience.
551 Horai is strong. Strong move. All right. Well, my anime here is called The New Gate. So, pulling it up here. The New Gate is an online life or death game with tens of thousands of players, and thanks to Shin, the most skilled veteran player, the other players will finally be released from the game. Shin has killed the last boss and believes he is finally able to escape when he is blinded by a flash of mysterious light. He awakes to find himself in the game's world 500 years later and begins a new chapter in the life of the player. Interesting breakdown. It sounds a little like I don't know if I want to call it like dot hack like where they're trapped in a game or something, but we'll have to see. The trailer, it looks pretty generic fantasy anime, I would say. You know, black-haired main character, people fighting with skeletons and things with swords. You got your elf girl, your cat girl, your big titty girls. It definitely, I would say, resembles like a generic-looking isekai type of show. So, let's see. The studio is Studio Bus, which I've never heard of, because this is the first thing they've ever done. Man, there's so many new studios that pop up every season. I think it's so wild that like they just keep popping up. Boom, boom. Every season, there's at least like 3 new ones. But probably several of them go bankrupt every quarter too. So, I have pretty low hopes for this, honestly. That's why it's at the bottom of my list. But let's see. What did Pancake kind of trash did she talk? Let's see here.
This looks like the same thing I just watched with the other one, but like not a demon guy.
Yeah, she's noting that a lot of these shows look the same. So
Yeah, I didn't watch the PV of this one, but it's one of those covers that I instantly am like, I've seen this 1,000 times. This just is immediately revolting in its mid-averageness.
it's hard to escape this like mid-averageness thing though, because there's so many shows like this that if you skip them all, we'll never cover the whole season, unfortunately. But in any event, you want to just trade back and forth here with Caroline?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first or you want me to?
I'm not particularly prepared for her right now, so why don't you take it?
Okay, yeah. So Caroline, our third host, who is not here, she's being a good family member and not hanging out with us talking about cartoons. But she also has 7 shows, and we're going to talk about them, even though we haven't looked at them in the slightest. Her first pick is Astronaut, which is done by Telecom Animation Film, and the synopsis reads, Takumi, a gifted chef, was just let go from his job. He lands a gig at an old boarding house called Astro So, but hesitates to accept after learning he must also live there full time. That is until he meets the beautiful and charming caretaker, and he's sold. The two begin to work together, and their connection deepens, but Mira has a secret. She isn't from this world. Oh no, we're getting another, what was the Astro romance that you hated, Mitz? With the guy's name who's NASA?
I don't fucking know. I just block this out of my memory. So
there's a lot of these like house sharing romances that are popping up where it's like, oh, I guess we have to live together.
Oh, you talking about Tony Kaku?
Yeah, I'm talking about Tony Kaku.
For fuck's sake.
I don't think it'll be quite like that, but these character designs seem very all over the place. I'm kind of frightened. I know Caroline expressed a lot of hesitation with her picks and told us not to judge her too harshly for them. But too bad. This looks, I don't know. It looks
bad.
Fine. I don't know. Yeah, maybe not too bad, but it's also an original on Crunchyroll.
I mean, just tell it how it is. If it looks bad, it looks bad. You know? I'm too old to care.
Yeah, maybe.
Too old to care about like worrying about stuff like that at this point. If it looks bad, I'm going to tell you.
Well, I didn't watch the PV, so maybe it moves really well.
Maybe it does.
But my next one is High Speed Étoile, which is, I think, French for the word star, so High Speed Star, maybe. It's a F1 sort of girls racing show.
Another formula show?
Yeah, it tells the story of Rin, who wanted to be a ballet dancer, but had to give up due to an injury. So she became a NEET, she became a gamer, and she gets somehow roped into the world of racing in the future. And this takes place where AI technology has made it so vehicles can travel over like 300 miles an hour safely and securely with special mechanisms. It's like a, I think, hyper-futuristic take on F1 racing done by Studio ACAT, who is even worse than EMT Squared. I know I shit on them earlier, but Studio ACAT has not even had a proper series crack a 60 on any list, ever. Their previous attempts at sports, like Tamayomi, were laughably bad. I have low expectations from the studio, but this is once again an original with no streaming platform yet. And I picked it because it's got girls. Yay! Sports, yay! I like both those things.
That's why you picked it?
But the second I booted up this PV and saw these blank-faced crowds, literally featureless. They had no eyes, no. They were just a wall of ovals. It was pretty bad. And why am I watching a sports show with extreme racing if there's a lack of dangerous machinery? I want risky cars. When they say, oh, AI makes all this driving safe and secure, that sounds boring to me, you know? The general designs of the characters, the lackluster just tone of everything, there's off-putting CG. This doesn't look like it's going to be a winner. I think this is going to be a show for people who like F1, who can watch it and be like, oh, that's a reference to this track. Oh, I saw this at Monaco. Oh, he did that maneuver that this guy did back in 2017. I think that's the fan base who's going to enjoy it for those nods to the real sport. But beyond that, I don't think High Speed Étoile will provide much of quality entertainment. So, if you couldn't tell, very pessimistic so far on this season, but is what it is.
All right, well, speaking of pessimistic, my next anime is Re-Monster, which is just Another anime with "re" in the title. What the fuck, people? I don't get it. Anyway, so this anime is done by Studio Dean, which is not a new studio. The most watched animes from Studio Dean are the Give Blessings to This Wonderful World, Konosuba, and
Season 3, baby.
yeah, some of the Fate stuff, the older stuff, Higurashi. They've done a lot of stuff. They're a little all over the place. I mean, with the types of content they have, but so Kanata has been reincarnated in the weakest goblin named Goburo. After having undergone an unfortunate death, however, he has retained his previous life's memories, an unusual evolution, as well as becoming strong enough to gain status boosts from eating. And this is a terrible synopsis. Anyway, the trailer, basically, I mean, what I'm getting from this trailer is the guy dies and he gets reincarnated and he's growing very fast. So he starts off as a baby and by day 35, he's fully grown. And he just looks like this ripped looking, how do I say? He looks like a dark elf. Like his skin's like gray and he's got like red body paint and white hair and horns and he's ripped. And he's just sitting there on his ass. It just looks like an isekai show with I gotta say, honestly, the same types of characters that were in the last one. Elf girl, cat girls. This one also has skeletons in the PV. So I'm not really sure. I don't see this one being super good. Honestly, the animation and the demo and the trailer also looks, I'd say, average at best. But Studio Dean does have good shows, but I'd say all in all, we wouldn't rank them high as a studio. Probably not. I'm sure if I go check our little studio ranking thing that we did.
Episode 680.
How do you know that? Just like, are you making that up?
I think it's 680.
I'm sure they weren't.
I think we gave it like C or D tier.
Okay, all right. So not good, not too good. Yeah, this anime, I don't really know. I mean, it doesn't look particularly good. And I'm sure Pancake will say the same thing here, as she will probably mock me.
I mean, I'd let that demon guy have his way with me, but I still don't want to watch it.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I gave Studio Dean an F tier, and it was episode 680. But I don't know if that's where it officially ended up.
Oh, my God. I'm kind of curious what the highest rated thing Studio Dean has. Let me just take a look here.
Didn't they do Rakugo?
They did, and that's the highest
Rakugo
rated.
was pretty freaking good.
Followed by the original Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah.
So, a little all over the place. Okay. Caroline has a show called Henjin no Salad Bowl. Good
Eating
word.
healthy, I guess.
Kyosuke, an impoverished detective, meets Sarah, a princess from another world with magical powers. It seems like a Caroline show. Sarah begins living with Sosuke, and she quickly adjusts to life in modern Japan. Meanwhile, Olivia, a female knight who came from the same world as Sarah, found herself lost and homeless, but surprisingly enjoys her days here. So it seems very fantasy slice of life. Does this have genres? Fantasy slice of life. Nailed it. I'm looking at the trailer right here, and it's not going to be my cup of tea because the main character looks like an 8-year-old girl. She's like super moe and has two-toned hair, which I also find annoying. So, actually, they all have two-toned hair. So, yeah, I don't know. It looks like this is definitely like a shoujo show. It's got to be. The trailer features one guy and about 8 girls that all look like lolies, except for 2 of them are a little more grown up. Oh, there's a second guy. I honestly have no idea what's going on in this trailer because it has no subtitles or audio at this moment. But it doesn't look bad. Like, the character designs aren't terrible. Some of the girls are cute. But it definitely looks like a slapsticky fantasy comedy show with a lot of like cute little girls in it. So there's an audience for that, certainly. And it does look better than the shows that I picked. So I can't talk too much shit at this point. But Henjin no Salad Bowl. Not something I'm really going to be looking forward to watching if it gets passed. But there's probably other things that are worth watching. So it probably won't happen. Mason, next.
Next up is Kai to Otome to Kamikakushi, which is Mysteries, Maidens, and Mysterious Disappearances. And the synopsis reads, Ogawa is a bookstore clerk who wants to become a novelist after some writing success in her youth. But when strange occurrences start cropping up around the city, she teams up with her enigmatic co-worker to look into them. With their combined skills of the occult knowledge, they solve supernatural urban mysteries. This is done by Studio Zero G, not to be confused with ACAT. A lot of these weird anyway, they do not have the best looking shows. They definitely feel like they are shows for high schoolers who think they know what college is about. Like Silence Fell in Love, So I Tried to Prove It, Grand Blue Dreaming, and their more recent efforts are shows I haven't seen, like Ice Guy and His Cool Female Colleague or Farming Life in Another World. This is based on a manga, and this feels like I'm not sure what to get excited for here. The PVs were kind of too scattershot to get any sense of anything more than it being kind of underwhelming. So I'm skeptical going in. It feels like it's adjacent to Mirako-chan, but with less horrific monsters. It just seemed like the PV kept its cards close to the very ample bosom of its main character. That show, she's pretty stacked, is what the show really wants you to be
saying the mommy
mindful of.
milkers are
prevalent, and
okay.
The mommy monsters were nowhere to be found. The manga reviews seem kind of so-so, and I'm expecting something similarly lackluster. I'm just wondering, what will this show bring to the table? Will it have the visual splendor of Hanako-kun? Will it have the verbose twists of Inspector? Will it have the amusement and combat and just fun of Noragami? This show seems to be occupying the same space, but I didn't get a sense of what is unique or special about it. So, Mysteries, Maidens, and Mysterious Disappearances could be good. It just has a lot to prove in an already stacked field. So, that's that.
All right. Next up here is Tensei Kizoku Kante Skill de Nariagaru, or as a reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world, which I swear I just pick these shows based on their priority, based on their hype level on the internet. It's really you guys picking these. It's not me. I literally go to my anime list. I sorted by most people that had tagged it. I filtered off the slice of lifes and the comedy shows, and this is what's left. So it's your fault. An ordinary salesman dies one day. He probably gets hit by a car, and is reborn as a noble. Although he isn't talented in magic or swordplay, he does have one skill that no one else seems to have: appraisal. And using this ability, he can determine a person's strength, how much potential they have, where their talents are, etc. So I'm looking at the trailer here, and we have had isekai shows before that have ended up being really good, that sounded generic as hell. I think Jobless Reincarnation was one of those, which had like a terrible synopsis. Like, a NEET gets hit, a hikikomori dies in his apartment and is reborn as a baby, like, or something. That was like pretty much all. And that show ended up being really good. This show doesn't look as bad as the last two, and we are kind of doing these in order of worst to best as we see it, or at least by interest. So this show does have a lot of like fighting scenes in it. There's some interesting looking magic being casted, but it also is another isekai show where a guy dies and gets reborn as a baby, and then we'll end up having generally the same path as most of these other isekai shows, with small twists baked in. In this case, he can like see people's latent potential or something, which I feel like we've had before in isekai. This is done by Studio Mother, which is, I'm not very familiar with that either. They've done 3 anime, which consist of From Commonplace to World's Strongest Season 2, and also More Than a Married Couple But Not Lovers, which are neither of which I watched. So yeah, that's about it here. I mean, it looks,
these character designs do not look good.
It looks better than my last 2, but I wouldn't say I'm like jumping out of my chair for it. And neither will Pancake, probably, as she cuts me down.
Oh God, I cannot watch this. Is this adults with a bunch of little children? Is the main character a child? I can't.
I kind of feel the same way. I'm pretty over. I'm a little over watching anime that are about little kids, with notable exceptions. Spy Family being mostly about like a 5-year-old girl is really just not for me at this point. But anyway, this is we're not talking about Spy Family. So Mason, Caroline's next show.
Next one on Caroline's list is Hananoi-kun Tokoi no Yamai, aka translating into a condition called love. This will be on Crunchyroll, and this looks like a shoujo romance based on a manga. Hotaru is a first year in high school that has a great family and wonderful friends, but not much luck when it comes to romance. One day she happens to see the hot boy from the class next door get dumped. And seeing him standing in the middle of the park alone, she decides to hand him an umbrella, and then they probably start being a couple. The PV looked kind of basic. It looked kind of like every shoujo era thing we get. This is done by East Fish Studio, another studio that I have never heard of. Have not seen any of their few works, which include one OVA episode, and that's it. So that explains why I haven't heard of them. So yeah, another newish studio that Mitz talked about earlier. I don't know. I'm sure it'll scratch the shoujo itch. It seems to be kind of adjacent to A Sign of Affection, just without any interesting things going. I don't know. It looks like a thing you've seen 1,000 times. So pretty underwhelming from that regard. Hopefully it's good. The next one on my list, number 7 pick, or trying to do math, 4.
It's your 7th choice.
Yeah, 7th choice, 4th best one that I got, is Girls Band Cry. This is done by Toei Animation, most known for doing One Piece. It's another original, and it tells the story of a collection of girls who have been let down by friends, family, and the world, bond together to play music. The whole world,
the whole fucking world let you...
F your life.
Fuck your world.
Fuck your couch. So this is a pretty much, another entry in the girls do band sort of show, which I like the potential of. I like seeing the process behind making music, but I think the first thing that viewers and myself will notice is the visuals. These characters all look like VTubers in a very detailed video game cutscene. Not in that they have extravagant, absurd designs, but they have very Uncanny Valley-esque, semi-accurate mouth flaps with overly smooth movements. And everything is in full CG, from the sets to the characters, everything. Not in a way that I can say outright it looks objectively bad, but I'm curious to see how this art style holds up for an entire episode and season. It's just definitely not a traditionally animated show. Beyond that, this show looks like it's slotted for the same target audience as fans of Bang Dream. So if you enjoyed My Go from last year, probably put Girls Band Cry on your radar. It's probably going to hit the same beats of melodrama and rock music and that kind of stew of emotions. But yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be far from like a Bocchi or a K-On! It's more in the melodrama side of a Bang Dream. So that's Girls Band Cry. I don't have much to go on. It just looks the way it does.
All right, next up on my list here is Kami wa game ni ueteru, God's Game We Play. The supreme gods who had too much free time created the ultimate brain game, Play of the Gods. A former goddess, Lelechi, awoke from a long slumber and declared to the world, "Bring forth the person who is the best in games in this era." Someone named Faye is nominated to represent humanity as best rookie in recent years. Pretty weird so far. The game of the gods that is about to begin between the two may be a little too difficult, as there has yet to be a victor throughout human history, because the gods are capricious, unreasonable, and sometimes completely incomprehensible. blah, blah, blah. I don't know. They're going to play games. I don't know. So this is done by Studio Linden Films, who we definitely know. Linden Films. Their highest rated show on here is something I definitely don't... Oh, yeah, I've seen this. Insomniacs After School. We just covered that not long ago. And Call of the Night. Tokyo Revengers. And a few other things. So Arslan Senki. Linden Films. People know Linden Films pretty well. Looking at the trailer, I'm also not hyped really by this. It just has like a lot of monsters fighting. It's very all over the place. I've seen giant monsters fighting, a fire lizard, a giant golem, a mecha, a dude standing like, now there's chess and like cards and dice falling from the sky. Yeah, it just seems a very big titted girl wearing a cat ear hoodie, which I like. I think those are cute. So I keep thinking like No Game No Life when I see this. I don't know why. I guess it's all like the dice and the games and the girls, but it doesn't seem to move too well. The character designs look fairly average, and I just don't think this show is particularly going to be a strong contender either. Just from watching the trailer, this was like you, my 7th ranked show. You know, so we're in the exact same spot at the moment. And ultimately, I just don't think this one's really going to rise to the top. I do have predictions about which 2 shows I'll end up passing already, which we'll get to later. And here's what Pancake said.
Okay, so we got humans fighting gods. That'll go well.
I kind of agree. I think the premise is a little stupid. If you're a god, there's no possible way you're going to lose to a human in anything. They basically know the future, know the past, know what you're going to do. Some would argue you have no free will. So, I don't know, but like you're basically not going to win. So I don't know. Someone's going to be so lucky at rolling dice that they beat a god who pretty much could just make the dice roll whatever they want. So I don't know. It seems like a weird concept, but we'll have to see what happens. The next show here is Caroline's, which we have seen one of these types of shows before, sort of. It is the many sides of voice actor radio, which is a little bit different, at least, than your isekais and whatnot that we've had. So there are 2 high school voice actresses who just happen to attend the same school and get placed in the same class, and the 2 hosts are the 2 hosts of a radio program that's weekly. The classmates and as classmates and voice actresses, they show all the listeners their great friendships, blah blah blah, whatever. The first thing I thought of when I looked at this was that the one girl looks a little like Marin Kitagawa, and then I thought about the last voice actor show we had, which was not very good. What the hell was that show called?
The voice actor show or the radio show?
It was the radio show of the blonde-haired girl.
The radio show was Wave Listen to Me.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I didn't
like
that very much.
The voice actor show was a different one.
Yeah, so this looks like a slice of life. Man, the girl reminds me of Kamara Kitagawa. She even has like the multiple earrings, and her eyes just remind me of Mary Kitagawa. I don't know, and her hair too. So it's got a cute girl character, and I don't know, high school drama. But this is definitely going to be a slice of life show about like radio. So I don't particularly find that radio is. It's not going to be very. The show will need to do something more than just have the radio scenes, because there's not much entertaining about, unless you're Robin Williams, having a movie about like being on the radio. I don't think it's been done a whole lot, because I don't think it's particularly interesting to watch. Radio is more for listening. Watching someone just sit on a radio and talk is pretty tough to sell.
Thank you, everyone who's joining us on Twitch.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's how I feel about it, but I think this show is pretty much going to spend most of its time being about like the slice of life of the girls, and we'll probably have the radio thing as a flourish, or whatever they call a flare or whatever, to add some color. But it is at least not your same isekai type fare, so can't criticize it too much. Mason, what's your next pick?
So now we're getting into each of our top 3 shows that we've picked. So if you're like, oh, why are you guys all negative? It's because we were going through the picks we were less than eager to to review. So hopefully, starting from now, the selection gets a little bit more promising. And it kind of does in my book with my number 4 pick, The Fable, which tells the story of this infamous prodigy hitman who's known as Fable, who is known for killing all his targets with one shot. But he's assigned to live in peace where he can't kill anyone for an entire year, and he goes bonkers off the wall because that's the hardest thing he's ever had to do, is not kill someone. So this is done by Tezuka Productions, who did Girlfriend, Dororo, and most recently Under Ninja. It's based on a manga, and this is on Disney+. This is based on a completed 22-volume manga, like I said, and it has a very old-school Yakuza vibe to it, despite only being a decade old, which seems promising. We get some of that old-school flair and aesthetics with modern, story crafting. Though this will definitely likely land on the silly side of ruthless killers doing the mundane for its comedic effect. Think of Way of the House Husband. And with that spirit of Way of the House Husband, the PV visuals were pretty weak. And at the end of the day, this show is going to come down to the very subjective and difficult nature of how its surreal comedy lands. And this is hard to base that on, how will the comedy that's in the manga translate to anime, and how will that translate to me, a viewer in a different nation and stuff. So comedy, super hit or miss. I'm doubtful it will be amazing, and it's likely just going to tide me over until Sakamoto Days gets adapted, which I am excited for and is in a similar vein. So The Fable, it looks at least different than the normal slop we get each season, so I'm excited for that. As if it'll be good, we'll find out in a couple weeks.
All right, my next show is my number 6 ranked, which is Bartender. Glass of God. Now, this is not the first Bartender anime we've had. The other Bartender anime came out in 2006, and I think is considered very average by most.
Yeah, I would say I'm a big fan of Bartender, and I gave it a 6 out of 10. So I think that gives you all you need to know.
This is definitely a remake, because I'm reading the old synopsis, and it's exactly the same. So this is a remake of Bartender. I don't know why they're remaking a show from 2006. It's not that old. Maybe it is. I don't know. Is 2006 old? Fuck. That was like I was in college. So anyway, hidden in the back streets of the Ginza district, which, by the way, Ginza, very expensive place. It's like where you go if you're super wealthy, is Eden Hall, a lone bar operated by Ryu, a prodigy bartender who mixes really great drinks. It says a very weird line here. It's not just anyone can find the Eden Hall. Rather, Eden Hall must find you, which I think is very weird. It sounds like they have very bad marketing. Customers of varying backgrounds walk in that all have troubles, and he makes them great drinks and helps them with their problems, I guess. So basically, this is an anime which I haven't watched the original Bartender, which is probably why I picked this. But the people are gonna walk into this bar with like I'm getting divorced. And they're just going to drink their troubles away, and he's going to listen to their problems and help them, I guess. The trailer is predictably slow. It's mostly scenes of people standing in this bar and him shaking up drinks and, pouring a drink for them. So this is going to be one of those human type shows where it's pretty much going to be about listening to people's sad stories and, experiencing a little bit of humanity and their emotions, and that's pretty much what it's going to be. It's not going to have a lot of action in it. It's probably not going to have super great animation, but it will have super good-looking drinks that'll probably make you want to go drink.
I mean, the end of each episode ends with a recipe on how to make a drink. Oh, like the drink that they serve in the show. Mm-hmm. So it'll make you an alcoholic if you want to try them out.
I will say that in Japan, they offer everything with soda. It's like, oh, you're ordering whiskey. Would you like it on the rocks? Would you like it neat on the rocks with soda? I'm like, oh, I don't know. Pancake kept ordering plum umeshu, which is plum wine. That shit is fucking good. And when you mix it with the soda, it has that extra little zip to it. I will say I did order a double whiskey with my Kobe beef. It's pretty. Kobe beef is so fucking good. Anyway, here's what Pancake said about this.
So this is going to be an episodic show about a bartender who's lonely. And then he's going to make friends. And they're all going to go to the bar. And then everybody's going to be happy. You're welcome. You don't have to watch the show.
Mm-hmm. So the only other thing that this is Studio Liber. The only thing they've done was they collaborated on the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Not super exciting, unfortunately, but hopefully it's better than the original. Mason?
It's a good show to fall asleep to. I'll tell you that much.
All right. Sounds exciting.
The next show is Ji-san, Boss-san, Wakagairu, aka Grandpa and Grandma Turn Young Again. This is a story of these elderly couple who are living a quiet life in their village in Amori Prefecture. As we all know, Amori is the gold standard of where you get apples. And one day on their apple tree, they see a mysterious golden apple. They both consume it and instantly regain their youth and are now, granted with more life, but still continue to live like grandparents. And that sounds kind of sweet. I actually had this on my list as well, but Caroline got a better role than me, so she gets to review it.
Man, she probably cheated.
And it's just maybe. It's just a Yashike of the sweet old couple who are already in a relationship, thank God, just continue to live their lives just younger. I don't know. I guess I'm not sure what to expect here. Is it going to be funny? Is it going to be just, hey, appreciate the life you have for as long as you have it kind of thing? I don't know. The PV looked all right, kind of average. It's done by Studio Gecko, who have done some stuff, but really not much. They kind of just formed last year. The voice acting seemed very over the top and wacky and zany to the point that it kind of turned me off. So, yeah, we'll see. Grandpa and Grandma Turn Young Again is Caroline's number 4 pick. So, that's what she's going to have to watch.
Literally, the only grandpa... Just go watch My and Everything Amadas. I fucking love that movie. It's got the best grandma ever in it. I wish my grandma was that cool, but they're all dead, so.
Number 3 on my list, and the second to last show I will be watching for reviews, is Windbreaker. Sorry, once again, it's in all caps. Windbreaker. At Furin High School, a renowned super school of delinquents. Our main character, Haruka, a first-year student, comes from outside the city and has to fight his way to the top. And I pretty much just picked this show because I'll give Cloverworks a chance with almost anything. It's an A-tier studio in my book. They did Bocchi the Rock. They've done half the episodes of Spy Family. I like the way their shows look. They're very sharp. They're very well put together. It's based on a manga, and it will be streaming on Crunchyroll. And that's pretty much why I picked the show. Now that I'm actually looking at the show, now that I actually have to watch it, I'm just looking at another Cloverworks main character with heterochromia, with the Mitsugi infuriating two-toned hair to
Fuck
boot.
me. Are you serious? Wait,
Yeah, so he has
heterochromia and two-toned
color
hair?
eyes and 2 different color hair things.
Jesus
It looks
God.
not great. And the staff is not one I'm very familiar with. And the story and visuals look like a less colorful Buchigiri, which I'm not saying that's a great show, but I'm still eating that. So why do I need it again already? I'm honestly pretty underwhelmed, to be honest. But hey, welcome to the spring anime season. It's kind of been lackluster so far. So Windbreaker, I mean, cool fight scenes, hopefully, maybe some neat music and animation at best, but it's not really doing much to wow me. So yeah.
All right. We're doing great so far. It is weird. Like
it's rough out here.
the spring season's supposed to be like the best season. Or one of them.
Yeah, it comes and goes, but
It's weird.
it's usually a lot better than summer, and this feels like a summer lineup.
I'll tell you right now, in Japan, they care about very few anime, and they care about One Piece, Dragon Ball, and of the new stuff, Oshinoko, and Bocchi the Rock, and that's pretty much it. That's like all I saw.
There you go.
That's like all I saw in Japan, and mostly it's just Dragon Ball and One Piece. All right, my next show is Oitonbo. Oitonbo. Is that her name? That's her fucking name. Jesus, terrible name. Did you ever play the game Tonba? Because that reminds me of Tonba.
No, I didn't.
Anyway, Tonbo, I'm going to call her, the protagonist, lost both her parents in a car accident when she was young and was raised by her grandfather. That's the whole synopsis. That's it. Just kidding. Her grandfather, Gonji, a fisherman on the island of Kagoshima in the Tokata Islands, Tonbo learns to play golf while using her father's inherited number 3 iron on the island's 3 golf courses, which were built by the islanders themselves. The story begins with Tonbo meeting some dude, a professional golfer, who has come from the Kagoshima in search of work. So essentially, this is an anime about golf with a girl who learns to play golf with one single golf club and only a couple golf courses, and is essentially scouted by some pro golfer, and he's like amazed that she can even play with only one golf club. And I don't know. I'm just hoping. I'm picking this.
Venus line. Venus line.
No. God, no.
You're
I'm
not
really
even allowed
hoping
to use irons on the greens. What are you doing, lady?
Well, haven't you seen Tin Cup?
Yeah, I guess so.
Have you seen Tin Cup with Kevin Costner?
I've seen most of it.
He breaks every golf club he has except like the 7 iron because he's like a rageaholic. I fucking love that movie. I'm picking this because I want a second try at golf in anime. It's not going to be what I wanted. Like I said, I've said what I think a golf anime should be, but I'm hoping this one's a little more real. And although playing golf with one golf club doesn't really strike me as being all that real, but maybe she'll get other clubs and figure out like what the hell to do with them. This is Studio OLM, which has done a lot of stuff. You know, they most recently. Let's see, what have they done most recently? I don't know. The Apothecary Diaries is one of the most recent. So does that really have an 8.9? Are you shitting me? That can't fucking be for real.
I guess
Apothecary Diaries has an 8.9 on my anime list with that main character. Are you fucking kidding? I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. God damn, Mao Mao is so annoying. I just want to smash her face. God, take her face and smash it. Jesus, good Lord.
Caroline is rolling in her grave right now.
I can barely even watch that fucking anime. It's so boring. God. God, it could be anything in the world. Just any problem you have of any kind. Just go ask Mao Mao. She has the answer to everything. Oh, my God. Anyway, I digress. I'm hoping Oitonbo is a fun anime that represents golf properly, and that it'll be, it'll take us somewhere that I want to go in the sport of golf. And then my turn for Caroline's here. Go Loser Ranger. Go Loser Ranger. 13 years ago, the monster army invaded Earth, but humanity's great protectors, the Dragon Keepers, defeated them in a single year. Every Sunday since, the monsters have been forced to act out humiliating defeat after defeat in front of the unsuspecting public, whatever the hell that means. Determined to change this, a single monster, D, infiltrated the Ranger Force. With the help of the mysterious Ranger Yumeko, D manages to seize one of the divine artifacts, the only weapon capable of permanently killing the monsters' immortal bodies, blah, blah, blah. Okay, looking at the trailer here, it's a Super Sentai show, clearly, because it's got 5 characters. What color we got? Green, yellow, red, blue, and pink, which is pretty standard. It looks pretty cool. It's got some, good scenes in it. The creators of Tiger and Bunny. So that's really the selling point here. Tiger and Bunny is involved. People don't remember Tiger and Bunny because, as someone in the chat said, it's 2006 is so fucking old. Tiger and Bunny came out in 2012 or something, so probably nobody remembers that either. But Tiger and Bunny was kind of a big deal, and it was popular in Japan, very popular. This anime character, like the characters look good in this. It has some pretty good looking visuals. I would say this is probably better looking than any of the shows I have picked so far, ultimately. But I'm not a big fan of Super Sentai. I find it like cliche and annoying. But hopefully this one will be a little better than most. Yeah, I'm just not a big Super Sentai guy. I didn't like Samurai Flamenco either, even though that was more of like a deconstruction or whatever you call it. So
Yeah, it definitely started as a Sentai and then went off the rails, but I'm with you.
I liked it more when it was like the Spider-Man back alley, like vigilante. That's more my thing. But it's done by Yo Stars Pictures, which has not done a lot of stuff. Their most watched show is Azure Lane, and they don't have a single show better than a 7.6, and that's Arc Knights, which the recent one. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be good, but it doesn't look bad. So. Mason, is we up to your number one now?
Yes, the best show on my list that I will be talking about for impressions is Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, Yoru no Kurigai wa Oyoganai. And probably butchered that really bad. But anyway, this tells a story on Shibuya's late-night streets. 4 young women who are slightly outside of the world, including an illustrator, a former idol, a VTuber, and a composer, joined together to form an anonymous artist group called Jelly. This is done by Doga Kobo, who've most recently done Oshinoko, Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie, very distinct art style at that studio. This is another original, and it will be streaming on High Dive. And I think this is definitely the standout cute girls doing cute things show of the season, or at least the most anticipated. It has a lot of flashy visuals, which are compelling, but I can't help but feel like I've already experienced this show based on its PV. From the Genki blonde-haired idol to the skin-fanged Pipsqueak to this group of forming their talents and going through the ups and downs of their creative process to getting their big break and all the tropes in between. I feel like I've seen this show already. Which is kind of me just tempering my hype, because I do think this will be a good show, because I do love getting that look into the behind the scenes of any sort of creative process, and hopefully that itch can be scratched alongside a compelling character drama that doesn't feel like it's just following the modern Moe playbook. So, Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night. I'm trying to keep my expectations low, because if this show isn't good, I don't know what else on my list will be, but I am just a little cautious that it will just feel like a lot of the shows that have come before it. So I hope it's good, because I need something to be good here on this list. So that's what I'm putting all my chips in with.
All right. And for me, number one is Rinkai. A story about a women's bicycle racing team during, it says, the post-war period of turmoil. Are they saying World War II? I don't know. It has been several decades since the short competition history came to an... What the fuck is this synopsis? This anime is basically about like the racing that you see in like the Olympics, where they go around the track in the circle. I don't know what that's called, but they always have like the funny looking helmets on.
The super aerodynamic ones, isn't that I'll look it up. I don't remember.
It's like the circle's really small. They go around it in like 10 seconds. And anyway, so there's this like girl that's really good, and I guess she's like world renowned. She's called the Invincible Queen Ibushi, Silver Veteran. So I don't know. It's done by Studio TMS Entertainment, which has done a lot of stuff, including Dr. Stone, Real Life, a lot of the Resident Evil stuff that's on Netflix, which I've watched all of, by the way, and it's pretty good. Orange. TMS Entertainment is very, very prolific at this point. If you look at the trailer, I don't know. Honestly, like, it doesn't look all that well animated, and there's a lot of CG in the racing scenes. I don't know. I still don't know why they choose to use CG for these shots, when it seems like they could do it with like just regular animation. But there's not a whole lot of stuff in this trailer more than just the girls, like standing with their bicycles and going around the ring in a circle. My confusion with this is that this sport is not going to be particularly entertaining. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with it. Yowamushi Pedal had racing in it, but that was like road racing, and there was a lot of shit they did with it. And Yowamushi Pedal had a lot of shonen attributes. You know, they would power up sometimes. They'd have like these like semi-believable, but mostly not, like techniques they would use. You know, but this just doesn't seem like, you know, going around and around in a circle isn't really even entertaining to watch in the Olympics. So I don't know how they're going to pull this off in an anime format, but I will pretty much give anything that's sports a try at least once. I haven't seen this one done yet, and the only other racing bicycle show I've seen, I think, is Yowamushi Pedal, and it's been pretty good. So, but I'm not overly optimistic about this even still. We'll have to see. This is called Rinkai, and again, it's done by TMS Entertainment.
So the sport name is just called track cycling. And I'm sure it's just coming out now because the Paris 2024 Summer Olympics, which has track cycling, will be, starting as this season finishes.
Could be.
So
makes sense.
They probably got tacked on to do it. Yeah, visually it doesn't look that great.
This next anime that Caroline's got, we all wanted this as our top pick.
Yes, we all had this as number one. And it was just luck of the draw. And she got it. You can see I have the manga right here. I think this is definitely... There's a reason why this was the number one pick for all of us, because I think it shows the most promise, and it's a really interesting story. So, for once, it is a shonen series, but it stars the main character who's in his 30s. And essentially, it takes place in a world where deadly monsters named kaiju attack places, and Japan has the highest number of kaiju attacks. And as a kid, this character, whose name is Kafka, had his hometown destroyed with one of his best friends. And they swore to join the Japan Defense Force, this high-tech military organization, to fight back against these kaiju monsters. And his friend was really good at it, got into it, is like one of the top captains. He, on the other hand, he's not that great. He keeps on failing the entrance, and he's just not allowed to be one of the members. So he's tasked with the cleanup duty of them. So these monsters come invade, the task force eliminates them, and then there's all these monster guts and goop and all over the town that they need to clean up, and that's what his job is. But one day, when he's cleaning them, he accidentally gets infected by some of the monster that he's cleaning up, and he gets the ability to turn into a kaiju. He can become a monster himself. He is the titular kaiju number 8. And now, using those monster powers, tries to once again join the task force as, monster to fight monster, fire meets fire kind of thing. So that's what the story is about. And yeah, it's pretty good. I'm excited for it. It's done by Production IG, who we all know and love. And this will be streaming on Crunchyroll. And I honestly didn't even look at the PV. I don't know if you watched it, because I'm like, oh, it's probably going to be good. Production IG is solid, and I like the source material a lot. And, it's kind of scratches that shonen itch, but it's a little more, mature with someone who's in his 30s, kind of not fulfilled in his life and having the second chance to fulfill it. So, yeah, that's Kaiju number 8, and Caroline gets the pleasure of determining if we review it or not.
Do you have any predictions, Mason, about which shows you will be passing?
That I will be passing?
Yeah, from the
This
7.
is maybe the least excited I've been for a slate of shows since doing this podcast. Like, I get it. Not every show is going to be a winner, but every season I'm like, at least this one is screaming at me. It's got potential. And honestly, none of my shows are really hitting that knee-jerk reaction of I'm already interested just based on the synopsis and PV. I'm guessing it'll have to be the Jellyfish in the Night, and that's all I can guarantee at this point. That's all that I'm like, well, I'm not guaranteeing anything. That's all I feel confident with at this time. How about you?
I'm in the exact same spot. The only show on here that I'm pretty sure I'm going to pick is the Oi Tombo show.
You just like saying that. Oi, Tombo!
I think it's a terrible name. I don't know what the fuck. But if that show's even remotely down to earth enough to be like just like a slow burn sports anime, I'm going to pick it. Bartender strikes me as being the least obnoxious of the other remaining shows. But if it's insanely boring, man, it's going to... Oh, man, I don't know. I just don't know.
I think you will appreciate the lack of screaming in it.
That's true.
But that I don't know if a lack of an annoyance is enough to pass the show based on that.
Yeah, and if it's
If you watch one or two episodes, you know the whole thing.
If that fucking thing's 2 cores, there's no way I'm watching it. So,
yeah, that's true.
But something tells me it won't be. All right. Well, time to hit the old dusted trail.
But first, let's give you a trivia question for the road traveler. In the anime Shangri-La Frontier, what are the 4 hobbies found in the Hizu Tome family, aka in Sunraku's family? What are the hobbies of all their members? And if you can remember that, congrats, we'll give you the answers after the news break. See you there.
Hey, Anime Addicts, this is Mitsugi, and I'm bringing you your anime news break, getting us started off with some anime getting second seasons, some big ones. Shangri-La Frontier, the anime, is going to be getting a second season in October. Of course, we're going to be reviewing Shangri-La Frontier today, so you'll get to hear that. But the big, dumb, fun anime about the video game with the man with the nipples and bird head, well, he'll be back in October for more blistering action and more fun, so look forward to that if you're fans of Shangri-La Frontier. Next up, the second season of Oredake Level Up Naken, or Solo Leveling, is getting a second season as well, produced by A1 Pictures. This is adapting Chugong and Dubu's action-adventure manhwa, which premiered on January 7th. And if you are a big fan of this property, well, it'll be coming back as well, and it doesn't really have a date yet, but you're going to be able to look forward to more Solo Leveling for your entertainment coming out, I have to imagine, sometime this year. Next up, the very hilarious and, I don't know, somewhat infamous Terra for Mars, which had, as I recall, a very bad anime season, is returning from a whopping 5-year hiatus in April, which is, well, basically today, of April 2024, so you're going to be able to look forward to that. There's more details on the official X, aka Twitter account of Yu Sasuga, who is the creator of the manga. So they began serializing this sci-fi horror manga in Miracle Jump in 2011 before moving to Weekly Young Jump in 2012. If you're a big fan of Terraform Mars, it's coming back. You might get another anime, who knows? So look forward to that coming out sometime possibly in the future. Next up, there was a poll in Japan to determine what manga Japanese fans wanted to see made into an anime next. This poll contains over 50 manga in it and had over 100,000 responses during more or less the month of February, and they have been compiled. They contain titles such as Cypher Academy, Kagurabachi, Coffee and Vanilla, and a bunch of others. But after compiling all the responses, number 1 was taken by none other than Shinanonchi no Ikudu by Hami Nakasora. The manga revolves around the daily lives of a boy named Ikudu and his big sister Shinano as they navigate the 1980s and early 1990s. So definitely sounds like an old school slice of life anime. And you'll have to see very, very hilarious art, very like just minimalist, silly Japanese. It has a sort of a nostalgic feel. If you want to check it out online, Shinanonchi no Ikudu, probably worth checking out. And with that many people voting for it, wouldn't be surprised at all if that got made into an anime as well. This was Mitsugi, and this was your anime news break. And now, of course, it's time to get back to the podcast. Every day, Pancake is abused, beaten, and neglected by being forced to go to work.
No, Mitsugi, don't make me go!
She's crying out for help. Her syrup, it's dry.
It's so dry.
Please go to aaapodcast.com/join or Patreon and join the Anime Addicts with a monthly gift. Don't wait. For just 22 cents a day, you could help rescue a pancake from a life of doing things. Act now within the next 30 minutes, and you'll receive a welcome package of hentai episodes, hobby addicts, and after parties during which a pancake may appear. Given a second chance at life, Pancake may even appear on this very podcast thanks to you. So help make Pancake the Anime Addicts Anonymous sugar baby by going to aaapodcast.com/join or Patreon right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
There is a pancake who needs you. You can say, I'm here to help.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
Well, they were naked. They were completely
Yeah,
naked.
completely
the
naked.
show still is too cowardly to hang dong.
No one hangs dong.
Someone needs to do
Come
it.
on, mate. Come
if
on.
there was
Wait,
any show,
doesn't Dragon Ball hang dong?
The little baby dick.
you're only allowed to show penises if it's babies, which is, I hate that I have to say that.
Go get your manga of Dragon Ball, Mason. Let's flip to a page, see if it's got
Page 9, what was it? Is that what we determined it was?
something
I
like
can't
that.
remember.
He didn't waste any time. He's like, it's been a whole 6 pages. We have not shown penis.
Yeah, we gotta slap that on there.
We
Put
must
that on
show
the
this.
Macy's Day Parade.
It's dragging on the ground. It's destroying traffic. Cars are flipped
Jeez,
over.
okay.
Goku's giant schlong.
Moving on.
I have a question. When Goku transforms into a blue-haired Goku, do the carpets still match the drapes?
Doesn't his eyebrows change as well? His eyebrow color?
Yeah, probably.
Then I can think most definitely that the carpet has changed.
There you have it. I have traded my monster for whiskey. Before I
Is it
left
also colored?
whiskey color.
Ooh, very nice.
Before I left Japan, the last thing I bought from 7-Eleven was a bottle of whiskey. Which they don't give a fuck. They're just like, oh, you're buying whiskey? Are you 20? Yes or no? And then you hit the button. It's like, they don't check your ID or anything. You could be like 14, and they would just like probably let you do it. I bought this bottle of whiskey for $7, and I'll tell you, it tastes like a $7 bottle of whiskey. It's not good. But I did have good whiskey while I was in Japan. It's just not this bottle. So they do make a lot of whiskey there. Anyway. All right, well, welcome back to the show. When we left you, we had an intro trivia question. In the anime Shangri-La Frontier, what are the 4 hobbies found in the Hizutome family? Video games, fashion, entomology, and fishing. Cool.
Entomology is bugs, so if you
Yeah.
said that, that also counts.
Kabutomushi and Kuogata. That's all you need to know.
Big old beetles.
And they do have those in the Totoro Forest. I pointed them out. I was like, oh, look at that. All right, it's time for mailbags.
Let's
It's
do
time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime. Anime. Anime.
Mailbag.
If you want to leave a mailbag and be a super cool person, head on over to aapodcast.com. Click the mailbag thing at the top. You've heard me say this 1,000 times, and you still haven't done it.
Yep, you haven't.
But I'm not going to give up on you, listener, because I know you have a good question in
I
your
gave
soul that you want us to answer. This one today comes from Cade, or Cod, or Kade. Apologies if I mispronounced your name 3 times.
Have
Hello,
an
Addicts.
easier name.
Yeah, come on. Listen, you've heard me butcher every single word I said on this podcast. You expect me to get your name right? Come on. Let's have reasonable expectations here. They write, I'm going to Japan in July on Mitsugi's recommendation.
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
very excited for daily gyudon, but not too excited about the flight. The longest I've done is 4 hours, and Japan is nearly 14. Any tips on surviving the long haul flight? Thanks and much love. Mitsugi, what do you have for the good person?
I got you, okay? Here's what you do, okay?
I got you.
I got you. Here's what you do. Because I don't like sitting either, okay? You eat so about an hour into your flight, they'll serve you a meal. It'll probably be dinner. I think they have to. They're going to serve you 2 meals, and they're gonna be mediocre, but they'll be decent. And so you eat your meal. Hour after takeoff, pretty much as soon as you're level, they start bringing the drinks, and then they bring the food. Take a sleeping pill. That's honestly what I recommend. If you can't get a sleeping pill because you have no access to one, take like 3 Benadryl. It'll do the trick. I promise. You'll sleep maybe 6 hours. You'll wake up. You'll have like 5 to 7 hours left. You can spend that time watching 3 movies or watching anime on your phone or whatever. They'll bring another meal like 2 hours before you land or 3 hours before you land, and that'll help entertain you for a bit. But it's really not as bad as it seems. I mean, most of these flights have pretty solid in-flight entertainment. They're going to have like thousands of movies. They're probably even going to have live TV. And, and anyway. While you're there, Anyway, Mason, do you have any advice? Because I'm going to jump into something else, but...
Yeah. 2 things. 1, watch stuff. Bring hobbies, Switch, whatever. How do you think I got through Shangri-La Frontier? I was on a plane these past couple hours, chugging through episodes. But honestly, this is going to sound weird, but when a flight is that long, it doesn't feel as long as it is. Like, a 6-hour flight doesn't feel as long as 2-3-hour flights. When it's that long, a long flight is just a really long flight. And you fade in and out of sleep, doing different hobbies, and eventually you get there. So don't be like, 14 hours. That's 1 hour and another hour and an hour. Eventually it's like a car trip. It all bleeds together, and it just becomes a lucid dream. And then eventually you'll show up and you'll be fine. The flight is not as bad as like the jet lag and stuff like that. So as long as you do that when you arrive, that's what you got to be mindful of. The flight, get up, stretch, bring hobbies, and you'll get there.
It's pretty weird. You're not going to be jet lagged at all when you go. When you come back, you're going to be wrecked. It's so fucking weird. Every time I've ever gone to Japan, I have no jet lag at all when I get there. I'm like perfectly normal. And when I get home, I'm waking up at like midnight. I mean, it's fucking horrible. So, yeah, it takes about a week to adjust. But don't forget to eat teishoku while you're in Japan. That's my favorite. I think my favorite. So while I was there, I had all the yas. I had katsuya, I had skiya, kokuichi banya, matsuya. There's all these yas, right? And they all just mean like shop. But like, honestly, I think my favorite now is katsuya. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's past kokuichiban. I think it passed skiya. They just serve the best food for the best price. Teishoku is the shit. Teishoku is literally like a set of food. So they'll bring you a bowl of rice, a salad, a soup, some pickled like radishes, and then an entree. And if you're at katsuya, they'll bring you a pork katsu sliced, and they'll bring you a pile of cabbage. And at katsuya, they give you all the fucking fixings. They got the salad dressing, the katsu sauce, the fucking shichimi. They got all the stuff for your food. And they'll bring you tea for free. So you get all these fucking items, all these things, and literally they're going to charge you literally like $4.50 for it. And it's like, you might think,
if you like spicy stuff, don't sleep on the shichima. That's the shichimi. That's like
fucking good.
The moneymaker.
Yeah. And it's totally good. And like you'll feel like you're eating real food too, because like the soup is usually like tonjiru, which is like a soup with root vegetables in it, like onions, daikon radish, carrots. It might have some pork in it, and it's like you're eating all this real food, and you're paying almost nothing, and it just feels like you're getting so much. So don't sleep on the teishoku. You really got to look for that. Don't just eat gyudon every day. Although gyudon is good, but you gotta try some different stuff. You can't ignore the prices in Japan for food while you're there, because you're literally going to be able to eat anything you want for prices you can't even fucking believe. You're going to eat a sushi dinner with like 3 alcoholic drinks for the price of like 2 McDonald's Big Mac meals. I mean, it's outrageous. So don't sleep on it. Take advantage of that while you're there. So definitely worth it. Ooh, whiskey is coming for me.
Yeah, the best recommendation I have is go to a really fancy a place where they serve you food, and you go with a bunch of other people who are too cowardly and full to eat all their food, and then you can just walk around and eat all their food.
Mason, you were the pro at like polishing off everyone's food at the.
I felt so bad about that.
Well, you're a hungry man. What can I say?
Oh my goodness! Everyone's like, "Oh, I don't want to eat this fish. It's got the head on." I'm like, "Okay, I'll eat it."
I did take Pancake to a Ryokon that allowed tattoos, and man, it had unlimited. It had Nomi Hodai for dinner. All you can drink alcoholic beverages, 30 types of alcohol with the meal, and I'm like, this is fucking crazy. It's wild. All right, Shangri-La Frontier. Oh, I haven't adjusted the thing on our screen in like 100 years.
It's okay. No one watches on YouTube anyway.
Such a bad host. There we go. Shangri-La Frontier. I passed this on episode 700, fall 2023. It's on Crunchyroll. It's about a high schooler named Rakuro who has a hobby of playing really bad video games. And by that I mean like bugs, crappy battle systems, unbalanced.
It's so gay.
It's just terrible. But he gets recommended this game called Shangri-La Frontier, which is the opposite. It's like super popular. They say it has like, 30 million players or something?
Yeah.
And he boots it up. He does his normal thing. He sells off his gear. He starts min-maxing. He starts to craft his character in the way that he wants, levels up, etc. It is done by Studio C2C, which is becoming, I think, a studio that people know at this point. I mean, it's got close to 20 shows here. Most notably for me is the Reincarnated as a Sword, which I thought was really good and much better than a 7.5, which it has on Mal. And I'm waiting for season 2, impatiently, by the way, because that show just had some sneaky out of nowhere action, like in your fucking face. But C2C is no stranger to these like fantasy shows, so they definitely have some experience in this area at this point. It's based on a manga. Mason, before you went into watching this, did you have any expectations?
Yeah, so when we were picking shows for that season, I saw it was, kind of video gamey, virtual things I've seen 1,000 times. The only thing that made it different was that the character had a big old blue bird mask on. And I was like, okay, whoopee. It really seemed like very generic, run-of-the-mill stuff, and I just completely glanced over it. So it seemed like people were really kind of vibing with it, though, and I was like, okay, let's see what it has to offer when I come to watch it. So pretty muted, plain expectations going in.
Pancake called him Birdhead Nipples McGee.
She's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She don't miss.
So, I mean, I had already watched most of this. I mean, I was week to week on this one for most of it. I started watching this when I was on a business trip in Arizona, and I was like, it just had the it factor for me right away. There was nothing really about it that made it different or unique from other shows. It was just better. It's one of those shows where you're like, oh, a show about a kid who plays games. Okay, he's going to put his headset on and play a VR MMORPG or whatever. Whoop-de-doo. But for some reason, within like 15 minutes, I was just like, this is just better than other shows that are like it. And that's why I passed it. It just had the it factor, meaning I couldn't really understand why it was better. It just was. And that was about the end. That was about the long and short of it. I mean, it's just, as they say, big dumb fun. And that's kind of what I expected. So, Mason, now, would you recommend it?
Yes, I actually would. Pretty soundly, especially for fans of Dark Souls or MMORPGs, which seems to be the definitive major inspirations for the in-show video game. And I think the it factor that you're referring to is so many of these games, they go into the video game world, and it just feels like a fantasy show. Whereas this show really feels like, honestly, one of the best depictions of the video game experience. And it really captures, the joy of gaming in a lot of ways. So, yeah, it was fun, especially the first, 3-4 episodes really was firing on all cylinders and was engaging. The show is certainly far from flawless. The game that they play isn't hyper-realistic. There's definitely some pandering power fantasy elements. There's not really any through line of tension or stakes at play. It kind of makes the second half drag. It's a little drab at times when they're just fighting with really no cause. And there's a lackluster romance involved. There's some post-credit scenes that don't add a whole lot. So there's definitely some shortcomings. But at the end of the day, the show just slaps a bird mask on its character and has fun with it. It has colorful visuals and is unafraid to throw in some really well-executed jokes thanks to a main character that isn't a typical edgelord. And it's hard not to have a good time with Shangri-La Frontier. It just exudes a sense of style and fun. And yeah, it's not a masterpiece, but it's an easy watch, especially for 25 episodes. It went by pretty quickly. So if you're at all interested in this kind of thing, I'd say definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm in the same place mostly. Shangri-La Frontier was good right off the bat and continued to be just a very authentic MMORPG sort of depiction. It has the stats, it has the references to real life. He even jumps in and out of his game and goes to other games sometimes. He has friends that he's played other games with. There's guilds. Organized like teammate type tactics that they use, and they bump into like all sorts of in-game quests and things like that. There's even a girl character who's got a crush on him, and unfortunately is a total pussy about it. Like, she can't tell him. She doesn't even have the guts to really introduce herself. So she starts playing the game herself, and then kind of secretly becomes friends with him. So it has pretty much, as a person who has played a pretty solid amount of MMOs in my life, I would say this is a good depiction of MMOs. As you said, the main character is not overly annoying. Like, he's not an edgelord. He's just kind of like a fun, goofy guy, but not too goofy. Very good at like games. Sometimes too good, I'll say. I mean, it's not perfect. He's a little unrealistically good at times. But all in all, it's a really strong show. I thought the animation is pretty good. The action scenes are well animated for the most part. I will say some of the arcs of the show went on a little too long. By that I mean Weathermon. Too long. That fucking thing was 5 episodes. He literally spends 3 whole episodes just basically dodging and fighting this guy, and it's very long and very boring after a while. It's a lot of the same thing over and over again. So some of the arcs are a little too long. I think about halfway through, I started to wonder like where the show was going, because it was seeming a little stuck in the sand, a little stuck in the mud a little. But ultimately, it manages to pull through that and does some other things. So it's not perfect, but a much better and more fun depiction of gaming than you're almost going to get from anywhere else. So, yeah, I think I would recommend it as well. Pretty easy to recommend. All right, shall we do spoilers?
Let's do it.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
I actually feel like this show doesn't have a tremendous amount of spoilers in it.
No, it's guy plays video game.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's about it. But I think the spoilers, or lack of them, really doesn't take away what you can say is good about the show or not. And I think what really drew me in at the beginning is, like we said, gaming isn't a hidden thing. There's a lot of people who watch anime and play video games, but it's so rare to find an anime where it seems like people actually played video games and represented that in very non-existent and intangible ways. Like, when he gets the Shangri-La Frontier video game, he opens the big case, and there's just the twig of a USB stick game. Like, we've all done that, where you open up this big case, but the actual game is tiny. Or you have dreams about playing Tetris or playing your favorite video game when you play it too often. Like, you go to sleep and it still is playing rent-free in your brain. There's just a lot of nods to just the mechanics of playing a video game that it really captures well, from him panicking when he's fighting Weathermon and he does like a phantom parry and he just does his controls too early. It just really captures the essence of playing video games, which is rare. I personally have never yelled out while playing a video game the name of a video game, and the repetitious use of saying, the God tier video game, oh, let's see what this God tier video game is all about, is a bit tiresome. But overall, I think it does it pretty darn good.
Yeah, I like his little bunny companion that he bumps into. She's really cute, especially when she transforms into like her humanoid form.
Yeah,
I was a big
Emil
fan of that.
definitely could have been a big deal breaker and very annoying, but it
Could have
turned
been.
out that the chemistry between her and the main character were probably one of the best reasons to watch the show. Just their banter back and forth when he's like narrating a fight with like a mushroom, just being goofy, and he like gives her the mic to for commentary, and she's like fumbling with the color commentary. That's those are great scenes. It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with the games, nothing to do with the stakes, but it just breeds a sense of kinship and character and camaraderie, and is really moments like that that makes this show feel so alive.
Yeah, I mean, you totally nailed it. Like, she could have been the most grating, insufferable character of all time, but there's a good balance of like cute, exuberant, but not like over the top. I do wish the bunny would transform more. I thought she was really cute as like a human with like sort of bunny-ish features. But
it was funny the way that they like disguised her by like wrapping around his neck like a pelt or something.
I also thought it was funny in that scene when he finally gets like the Bunny King or whatever to make the weapon for him. And then he finds out that the weapon has like a stat requirement that's way past what he's got. And it just is so relatable to like Diablo, where he's like, oh, I have my character built for some certain stat, and then it's like you get some armor or some weapon that's super mind blowing, but you've done things totally differently, and now you have to like gain 10 levels to even use this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do like that scene, but I do think it was a little overly convenient that he gets these new super weapons, but he can't use them, and it says you have to have a skill of level 50, and then he immediately gets roped into a quest where he has to be level 50. Like, there was a lot of conveniences for sake of plot, where things just kind of worked out exactly as needed to make it work. Though I will say, a little fun fact, I think one of the reasons why the banter between Emil and our main character works so well is that those voice actors are married in real life.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
So it kind of lends to their chemistry and charisma. And on the counterpoint, I would say one of my least favorite things about the show is the IRL real world romance with Ray, the character who's like in love with him and like is really bashful and shy. Like, her incorporation was so draining and lackluster. And it's funny because I think a lot of the real world elements were really well done. I loved seeing his family with their different interests. I like seeing the quick behind the scenes in the company where creative heads are like fighting for control. One person did the balancing and is yelling at the person who did the story crafting because they both have a vision and they kind of butt heads. I like the bonds with friends from other games carrying over to this one. Like, that all added a sense of realness and believability to it. But the thing they tried to force the most down our throat of, oh, this girl has a crush on him, and she's really strong in this game, but she's so shy, and she has to spend hours writing him a note, and it finally gets delivered, and it amounts to nothing. Like, that felt the most irritating to me. I just don't like her.
Yeah, well, the real life romance typically never went anywhere. It's just like but it's not really a romance show. I don't know. I thought it was interesting that the girl character, who probably never plays video games and clearly didn't because she was so lost in that game store, ends up becoming like this god tier character, which I thought was a little interesting. I mean, it's fine, but it was surprising. I didn't really expect.
I think there's a bit of a nod to it though, because obviously her real world older sister is the head of that big fancy guild, so you could make sense like, oh, her sister probably taught her how to play the game, that kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of little nods like that. For example, in one of the trash video games they play called Burp, like that's the abbreviation, which is really funny, they talk about this skill called the pile bunker, which is some glitch that a character found out. And he's like, when you discover a bug, you can name it. So one of the bugs was called a pile bunker. And you're like, okay, neat, someone did that. And then in the fight with Weatherman, Katso, or whatever his name is, does a move that he calls the pile bunker. And it's a nod to the fact that Kato is probably the one who discovered the pile bunker move in Burp. And there's like a lot of little threads between that I thought was a nice touch, and I like that. But I don't know.
I thought the Weathermon arc went too long. I just watched that last night, and it was literally like 2 whole hours of that. And it wasn't that it was a bad story, or I mean, it was a great side quest, you know. But the whole I just saw the fighting portion of that went on a little too long. Like the resolution was fine. It was kind of touching, sort of. I didn't really care that much, but
was it really?
Was it touching?
Really a touching?
Well, they tried. Somebody in the world was touched. I was kind of like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. But the actual, like, him just dodging the stupid clear sky move over and over again and dying like 100 times, it got a little long. Like, I mean, it got a little Dragon Ball-esque for a hot minute there. But, you know, I don't know. So I do have some complaints about the pacing in the show. Like, that was a little slow. The whole crap of him, like, people pursuing him for the rabbit, like, that was a little slow. For a while there, so the show's not all roses and candy. I was a little bit wanting more story and wondering where we were going. Because if we're just going to wander around this game world forever, like, fuck, the show could be 1,000 episodes. There needs to be some goal in mind. I'm not really sure what his goal is. I still don't really know. I'm not sure what he's trying to achieve. I guess he's just having fun. But
what is this, fun?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to watch someone play a video game, I'd rather just play a video game myself. I guess I feel like this show, I get that it can't be all action all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be all action all the time. I like the chemistry between the characters. But it seemed to chew up so much of its runtime on the mundane. We have this, like I said earlier, Rei's composing this letter to Sunraku for a whole episode, and it amounts to nothing. I pretty much skipped the first 3 to 4 minutes of every episode of the show because they fill up so much with recap, and then the intro, and then the opening, and then the second recap. There's these drawn-out musical numbers, like when the blacksmith is making his, like, fancy weapons. Like, it's a cool scene, but they repeat the same, like, clanging for, like, minutes as he does a song, and it just is a little drawn out. They, like you said, they defeat Weatherman, and then there's this whole emotional moment that they try to stretch on for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes more, and it just is like the characters don't even care about it. Why would I? But let me explain how these scales work for half an episode of I laundered them between this ownership to take this weapon and actually diverted it so I can actually keep it even though I died. That's cool, that's fine, but it just felt too circular. And simply put, the world was not as interesting as how our players engaged with it. I don't care about the video game. I care about how our players play the video game. And I feel like it got bogged down too much into, let me farm crystal scorpions for an episode. Like, it's fine, but it probably could have used some trimming down.
Yeah, predictably, they didn't even give a shit about the Weathermon resolution. They just wanted the fucking loot. They're like,
they get the loot. Okay, what's the next quest?
What's the loot? What loot do we
get?
I'm sitting there in bed thinking it better be fucking good because that Pencilmon or whatever the fuck just spent like 40 million of whatever their currency is on these resurrection items. So it better be damn good. It better be some freaking good loot. Yeah. So
there's just a lot of it. Just obviously season 2 got announced.
Yeah,
it feels like, you know, we didn't even get to a big finale ending point, like, because there is none. He's just playing a game. And I guess if I was someone who watched Let's Plays more often, I'd be like, oh, I'm just watching a more immersive Let's Play in a sense. But really, I watch this show and I'm like, cool. I want to go play Dark Souls. I want to go play Elden Ring. I want to go play the game more than watching it. So it's a fun show. It's stylized. It looks good. The OPs are super underwhelming, but besides that, like, it hits the right notes. It just plays them for a little too long.
I did not like the OPs at all. I thought they were really bad.
Yeah.
They were actually terrible. Mandatory skip, I would say.
Well, you have the 30-second Shangri-La Frontier is a godlike game in a world full of millions of games. This one rises above with they first have to give that every episode, and then there's the 90 seconds of subpar openings, both musically and like the second OP. It just jumped between pretty much in-show fight footage and then a static screen of the credits, and just jump between them. It's just really lazy integration. Come on. And I thought the post-credit scenes were also pretty underwhelming. Let's ask this guy about his daily life. Or he's making ramen and he got distracted and now his noodles are soggy. I guess that's fine. But they're like, let's just put a countdown in everything, and it felt... I get it. It's not the show. It's not what you're watching it for. But for the effort it took to make them, they didn't deliver much.
I kind of liked it. I mean, but I think I liked it because the episodes were very long, and they were long because of that. They weren't taking away from the these were 25-minute episodes. I feel like they weren't taking away from the actual runtime of the episode. They were adding an extra minute and a half of other stuff that was just kind of fun.
Yeah, but the first 4 minutes of every episode was recap.
Well, I mean that might be true, but the whole
it's bonus stuff. It's not taking away. I'm with you there. I'm just saying if I'm going to sit through and seek out the end credit scene, I want something more delivered than he's riding on a plane or riding on a train to go to a store.
What did they call it? Shangri-La Frontier Academy or something?
It was Mini or something.
I can't remember exactly, but it was kind of cute. I don't know. Some shows do that, and I'm okay with it. But I wouldn't want them to have a 4-minute opening and then cut and then have the stupid then have the Academy thing eat the last 2 minutes, because then you're only getting really 14 minutes of the content, which is just not enough. But I did flip back and forth between the sub and the dub. I will say the dub is not great. It's not
okay. I didn't try it at all. It's
not horrific. I'm happy there is a dub. It makes... What's that, Pancake? Oh, yeah. In the dub, he says splooge. I don't remember why, though. I don't remember what scene that was.
He does say that in the sub.
Oh, he says it in the sub, too?
He does say it in the sub.
Yeah, I was like, splooge. That's an interesting... It's... Good Lord. I haven't heard that word in a while, but... Yeah, I don't know. Shangri-La Frontier... It's an enjoyable anime to watch. I need to know where it's going. Other MMO anime, and I always reference Dot Hack because to me it was the first one, and I'm old, so of course I'm going to talk about a show from 2000. There was a goal in mind. They did all sorts of shit in Dot Hack, but they had a goal. There was an end point. There was a conflict. What is he driving towards? What is his goal? That's what I need. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, but you want something more than he's having fun playing a game.
Yeah, a little bit. It doesn't have to be all about that. We don't have to abandon the fun, but I'd like there to be a conflict, something that is an endpoint that a finish line that you're moving towards, a target.
I feel like the end thing, without knowing the source material, they're really establishing a lot of these rival groups coming into the fold, and there's that one-off episode where he trains for the Weatherman fight by returning to that burp fighting game, and he meets Dragonfly or someone. He just meets another gamer, and they go through different glitches. Is that character going to come into the fold? I'm guessing it's the people they have met along this journey of just playing the game will become the crux of their rivalries and stuff. Because if it's just them versus the game, it's not engaging. There needs to be that human element to it to spice things up. So, I'm with you. I think it's fun, but it needs to, in Season 2, take the next step to keep it from being too repetitious.
I will say, he's also a little bit too good at gaming. He just is too good at dodging. I don't know. It seems very challenging to move that quickly. I don't know. And I also wonder, how the fuck does he not fall asleep when he's laying in bed like that on his back? He's got a sign up on his door playing games all night, don't bother me.
Important meeting in process.
Yeah, very very childish kid-like stuff, right, to put that up on your door. But it's bro, it's 2 a.m. and you're laying on your bed and on your back. There is absolutely no fucking way I'm not going to fall asleep.
He was mainlining energy drinks.
Well,
But
okay.
yeah, I
Mainline
get
them
you.
all
I
you
get
want.
you.
Yeah. I enjoyed the show. I think Pancake enjoyed it too. You know, we watched it together the whole time, and for a while there, we were just eating chicken McNuggets and watching fucking Shangri-La Frontier, and pretty solid anime. Just a lot of fun. It wasn't perfect, but I did. You know, I will say, I thought during when I saw the trailer before when we were doing our picks, I thought the bird head guy would be the most annoying motherfucker in the world. I was like, this is going to be the most annoying shit ever because he's going to look ridiculous. It really didn't bother me much. It really didn't.
No, there's a lot of pitfalls that this show could have fell into. And I think it pretty definitely avoided all of them. It was very mindful of what it was doing, the impact its characters had, and even like all the cavalcade of animal people that popped up at the end were not crazy annoying. So I thought it was, like you said, it was fun. And sometimes that's all you need.
I don't have too many additional comments, really. Is there anything else you want to add?
I thought the animation was pretty good, and when the animation wasn't, it knew how to hide it. It, stuck with really bombastic, like still frames with critical seizure-inducing flashes that were a little intense, but almost reminded me of Trigger, where when the animation wasn't fluid, it still made it look good. And despite having a bird mask, he still was able to retain like a lot of expression through the voice acting and the comedy. And yeah, a pretty good show that I enjoyed. There's not really a whole lot to say besides, it did what it needed to do to be engaging. I'd maybe watch season 2. I'm not sold on it. I would need to have
I think
people
you'll end
tell
up
me,
watching. If we're still podcasting in the
Yeah.
fall, you're gonna watch it because this is gonna get passed by the listeners for sure. I'm
Yeah,
a little sad that
I wouldn't
Caroline,
hate it.
Yeah, I'm a little sad Caroline missed this one. I think this is probably better than she thought it was gonna be.
Better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too. So I don't have much
So
more to add.
when you're fighting Weathermon, logistically, you should be using the Terror Jewel of Rebirth not on Sukuna. It has such a low HP pool. You should use the Divine Life Cell. Okay, there were some technical things that kind of irked me. The video game quests were a little too particular. Some circular fetch quests like, oh, you found legendary weapons that don't work. They don't work because you need a special item. Okay, you have the special item, but it's broken. So to get the special item fixed, you need a craftsman at a high level, which you get at a high level by having a legendary weapon that works. Oh no, we're back at the beginning. It was a little roundabout. It was fine. Don't think too hard. I enjoyed the show. I'm going to give it 3 units of Vorpal Soul. What's Vorpal Soul? Nobody knows, but he's got it, baby.
Yeah, he's got it
Out
in
of 5.
spades.
He's got the luck. He's got the speed. I guess that's what Vorpal Soul is.
He's flush
But,
with the Vorpal soul.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a good time. If someone said, hey, Mason, like you said, we're reviewing season 2, you have to watch it, I'd be like, fine, sign me up. I'm not going to oppose that.
I'm a little torn on this one. I'm torn between a 3.5 and a 4. I really enjoyed the show. I think that it wasn't perfect all the time, but man, I think I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna give it a 4. I think it was 4. I don't know, 4 HP out of 4 because this motherfucker has no health. He has absolutely no health bar at all. How are you level 50 with 30 health?
To be fair, that's how I do it. I never put stuff into vitality. Come on, man.
But like,
Vigor,
shouldn't it
get
go
that
up
out
on
of my face.
Shouldn't it go up on its own a little bit?
I mean, in Dark Souls, your resistances go up and your defense values, but not your actual HP value.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't have too many severe negatives about it. I thought it was a good bit of fun. I would like to see a little more of the girl character. She's in the show since the beginning, and she needs to be more involved. I don't know, but that's about the only thing I want more of. And besides like a conflict or whatever for him to drive towards. It would be kind of cute if they sort of like formed a little bit of a relationship and maybe worked together a little more closely. But I don't see that happening. It's not really a romance anime, so. Okay. Poor
Yeah, better
Caroline,
than
she missed out.
expected. We'll take it. Hey, this was her choice.
Yep. Well, all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to the show today. That's our show. Mason and I are gonna do a hentai episode now. It's gonna be extra spicy.
Yeah, buddy.
So hey, if you want to support the podcast, AAApodcast.com/join our Patreon. We're on all the social medias. Chitin's popping off with his memes on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called now. Facebook. We're on Discord. If you DM me on the Discord, I will send you that itinerary from the Japan trip. Look out for that episode coming out from me and Pancake probably within the next 2 weeks. And next week, do we know what we're doing a review on next week? Is it MF Ghost?
I think it's MF Ghost because everything else from this season, whether it's Shreya or Apothecary Diaries or Undead Unluck, are all too core, and I didn't want to do two 25-plus episode shows back to back. So MF Ghost, dial it down, and then we'll do Shreya the week after.
Apothecary Diaries, best anime of all time. You heard it here.
You heard it here.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning into our show today. We do appreciate you. But now it's time to get down and dirty with the hentai.
Thank you for your patience when we were off last week. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. See you. Take care.